Just sing a holiday song, maybe that would work too. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you, Pam. The meeting of the Monroe Township Board of Education will come to order. Please stand as our student board member leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty, justice for all.
Thank you. May we have a roll call, Mr. Gorski?
Certainly. Mrs. Arminio.
Yes, here.
Mr. Braverman. Mr. Chiarella.
Here.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Here.
Mrs. Lang.
Here.
Mrs. Carino. Mr. Ryback.
Here.
Mr. Russo. Mr. Rutsky. Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Here.
Madam Board President, you have a quorum present this evening. In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the Monroe Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted December 8th, 2017 at all schools, the Home News Tribune, Cranberry Press, and filed with the clerk of the municipality.
Thank you. At this time, we will go to number 5 on the agenda, approval of the minutes for the Public Board of Education meeting of November 15, 2017. Need a motion and a second. Moved by Mr. Ryback.
Second.
Second by Ms. DeMayo. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Chiarella is abstaining, and recusals, none. The approval of the minutes for the closed session meeting of November 15, 2017. Mr. Ryback?
Second.
Ms. DeMayo? Again, any additions or corrections to the minutes? Ms. Arminio?
Yes, Madam President, I submitted earlier today my revisions to those minutes. I feel that the current minutes are not sufficient to explain what occurred in the closed session. I am not going to burden the public with the comments. However, I will resubmit them, and I would like to be added to the written record.
I will say that your request was given to our board attorney, and we did revise the minutes.
Not sufficiently to provide the comprehensible, like if the public wanted to read them, they were not comprehensible enough for the public to understand what the proceedings were. I'm just making that statement. I'm going to say that there's my copy of them. If you don't want to include them, people don't want to vote for them, that's fine. But my copy will be in the administration office and should be made a public record.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of any other comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ms.
Aye.
Arminio opposes?
Yep.
Abstentions? Mr. Chiarella, no recusals. So at this time, number 6 on the agenda, we have a presentation continuing with the MTEA Pride Grant. Tonight, we are happy to have a presentation from Mill Lake School, and they will present their Veterans Day project.
So the MTEA Pride Grant will be the Mill Lake students in Mrs. Papandrea and Ms. Pandolfi's class. Every year, this class writes letters to the American Legion Post 924 in the United States Southern Command, located in Miami, Florida. In addition to writing letters to the veterans this year, the students made a movie sharing their gratitude to the veterans for their service to the United States of America. So they are going to share that movie with you tonight. Also, with the Board of Education members, I've shared with you the thank you note that the students received from the American Legion. It's on the table in front of you. So I will turn it over to Mrs. Mignoli.
It's a beautiful thing when we could combine language arts, social studies, and civic duty. To see what our first grade students did for the veterans was absolutely beautiful. They were inspired by reading a Scholastic News article, and from there they were prompted to do something special for veterans. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Miss Papandrea and Mrs. Pandolfi, if they could just come on out. Because they were the inspiration, and that is true teaching when you inspire students to do something really special and beautiful. Some of the really awesome things that I just want to share with everyone is, number one, they've been in contact with the Hampton Bays American Legion, number 924. They've been in contact with the United States Southern Command. They've written holiday cards for veterans at the Walter Reed Hospital. And we just found out today, we are going to have a Chief Navy Commander coming to our school in a token of their gratitude for what our students did. So again,
That's wonderful.
I'm a lucky principal. I have amazing teachers. I have amazing students. Thank you to the families for supporting this. And at this point, this is about the students and my teachers, so I'm going to hand it over to them. Thank you so much.
Because of the veterans, we are free to go to school. Because of the veterans, we are free to sing. Because of the veterans, we are free to vote. Because of the veterans, we are free to celebrate. Because of the veterans, we are free to travel. Each day we live in freedom and our memory must not fade. The reason for this freedom comes from sacrifice made. So we celebrate our veterans on the 11th of November. We thank them for their courage and pledge always to remember. Veterans are brave men and women who are still alive today. We thank them for their service and their price to chose to pray. We are thankful to our veterans for freedom.
Dear veteran, thank you for saving our country from bad people. Your friend of me.
Dear veterans, thank you for protecting our country. Your friend Morgan. Dear veterans, thank you for taking care of our country. Thank you for saving our country. Your friend Justin.
Dear veterans, thank you for all the help and rescues. We are so proud of you. Good job for saving us. Your friend Joseph Savarino.
Dear veterans, thank you for all the hard work. Your friend Donnie. Dear veteran, thank you for helping us when we are hurt. Veteran, okay. Your friend Lipa.
Dear veteran, thank you for helping my friends, and thank you for helping our country, and thank you for keeping us safe. Your friend James. Dear veterans, thank you for protecting us. your friend Arturo.
Dear veterans, thank you for keeping the USA safe. Your friend Anushka.
Dear veterans, thank you. I thank you, veterans, for helping us and other people. I love you, veterans. I love your work. Your friend Max.
Dear veterans, thank you for keeping our country safe. You are the best veterans we can have in the world. Your friend Karina. Thank you for protecting our country. Thank you for also saving people that are hurt. Your friend Marina. Dear veterans, thank you for saving our country, and you are awesome. Your friend James. Dear veterans, thank you for protecting the USA and protecting us and giving up your family. Your friend Danielle. Dear veterans, thank you for fighting for our country. Thank you very much, veterans. Your friend Mackenzie. Dear veterans, thank you for protecting our country and making freedom and keeping our country safe. Your friend Johnson. Dear veterans, thank you for saving us and our country. I am your friend. I know that you care for us. Dear veterans, thank you for keeping us safe from the bad people. I think you guys have the best job and the best job for the country. Your friend Breeza. Dear veterans, thank you for keeping us safe. Thank you for keeping our country safe. Your friend AJ. Dear veterans, thank you for making freedom. Thank you for keeping our country safe. Thank you for keeping the USA safe. You are the best. Your friend Samantha. Dear veterans, thank you for protecting our country. Your friend Xavier. Dear veterans, thank you for giving freedom to us. Thank you for doing an important job. Your friend Allie. Dear veterans, thank you for saving our country from bad people. I want to be a veteran when I am older. I love you, veterans. I want to see a veteran one day. Your friend Jake.
Keeping on protecting shore to shore.
Jesus' name.
Thank you.
Well, that was awesome. And I'm sure that the veterans were very appreciative of receiving all your letters. And I'm sure you made their day, you brightened up their day a little bit more. Thank you very much for being here this evening. Okay. So at this time, we will be having a presentation of the Monroe Education Foundation grants. And when we have with us this evening Mr. Todd Edelman, who is president of the Monroe Ed Foundation. Welcome.
It's a hard act to follow. The Monroe Education Foundation has been around for many years. Every year we try to give out grants. This year we are giving out 12 grants in the tune of $16,455.94. We, in 2018, are going to try to ramp up our fundraising efforts. If you know anybody, well, first the teachers, definitely keep, next year handing grants. We love reading through them. They're creative. They're awesome. If you know any of the parents, anyone that would be willing to be involved with us, help us out, fundraising and just ideas to bring to the table so we can make these possible for years to come. The first grant we are giving out is the 2018 Poetry Slam, and that is going to Joan Kofke. Okay. Next up, we have Escape Room in the Classroom, Christopher Seidler. Next, Poetry Out Loud Residency, Andrea Feminella and Michelle Joden. Next up, we have Penguins on Parade. We have Lisa McHugh, Michelle Giaquinto, Sarah Richards, Lauren DePiro, and Christy Brand, and Melissa Cortina. Next up, we have Rock Garden by Brittany Ragusa and Tina Perrine. Bringing the Composer's Vision to Life, Yale Snyder and Rebecca Palmer. The next one I want to be a part of, it's Carpool History. Nicole DiLorenzo, Benjamin Mulvey, Christopher Seidler, and Christy Vizaki. Next, we have Full Steam Ahead, Creating a Culture of Thinkers and Makers, Erin Mahoney and Nicole Medora. Differentiating our learning through flexibility, Kristen Miller. Next, we have Makerspace in Action. It's the Oak Tree School Makerspace Committee. I don't know who's, oh, Danielle Puglisi, Benjamin Howard, and John Gleason. Stephanie Chin, Maggie Federa, Alyssa Veron, Brianna Kerner. That's it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have A Book a Day and Digital Storytelling. Stacy Levier, Susan Pace, and Dawn Graziano. Last, we have the Revolutionary War Traveling Trunk Program, and that's Radhika Patel. I'm holding a check for all the grants, the $16,455.94. That's going to the board. Again, if anyone's interested, please get in touch with me. My name's Todd Edelman. I'll be here for the rest of the meeting. Would love to have you guys help us out with the MEF. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know what a great job the Monroe Foundation does for our students, and like Mr. Edelman said, we can use a lot more help. There's only a few people left on the MEF, and it's been, we've had a little hiatus time, but we want to get back to working and doing the great things for our kids. In order to do that, we need to do some fundraising, and to do some fundraising, we need some help. So anybody who wishes to help, I'm here, Mr. Edelman's here. You can reach I think we still have a Facebook page or a website or something that has the information on it. So please reach out to us. Thank you. At this time, we will go to the presentation of the 2016-2017 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Mr. Gorski?
Thanks. Tonight's presentation is going to be by Mr. Jerry Stankiewicz, partner in the CPA firm of Samuel Klein & Company. Jerry.
Thank you, Michael. As the President said, this is the presentation on the audit for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2017. The audit is an annual event required by statute. The audit is conducted in accordance with the auditing standards established by the American Institute of CPAs, generally accepted auditing standards, governmental accounting standards, and General Accounting Office, and as well as the Office of Financial Regulation in the Department of Education. So we have 5 or 6 different entities that we sort of answer to, and they all try to blend in their requirements of us to perform the audit. They're all pretty much the same in terms of their scope and in what they're trying to accomplish. But the audit process that we go through, we like to think of it as a year-round relationship with the Board Business Office. We start in actually November for the year that we're in. We already have audited the ASSA and the free and reduced applications going into the year that we're in. So the year that we're discussing right now, we had done that work back in November and December of last year. So we then come back in July and look at the minutes. We then start auditing the student activity funds. we start preparing our samples and start formulating our game plan for the audit. Again, the process is cumbersome in terms of trying to achieve what we're trying to do, and that is to get a good feeling about how the record keeping was done for the year. And I will give you some examples. When we run samples, random samples, very simple sampling, statistical, and we sample, for example, payroll transactions. We run a sample throughout the year. We also look at other transactions involving payroll throughout the year. We verify that the gross pay is correct, that the net pay is correct, that the proper withholdings are done, and that those withholdings are remitted properly to the various agencies, most especially the IRS and the state of New Jersey. So that's all done timely and accurately, we might say. We also do this too. We not only do the sample, but we also make sure we do a side sample that your chief executive officer and your chief financial officer, your payroll people, and all key financial people are paid properly as well, and that they didn't get overpaid. That worked out very nicely, so there was no problems there. The other part of the sample that we do is we test your expenditures, other expenditures, health benefits, electric bills, various other expenditures, again, on a random basis to start with, and then we start looking at and verifying other expenditures as well, above certain dollar levels, below certain dollar levels. And here's what we look for, and I've given this speech before, and it took me several years to narrow down exactly what's important. And here is the thing with expenditures. A, in this district, they're all properly documented. B, they're coded correctly with respect to the correct budget account. The state of New Jersey and the governmental accounting standards has a mandatory chart of accounts that you're required to follow, and that's followed. They're cut off properly with respect to fiscal year. So bills that start coming in May and June that get paid in July and August, they're properly cut off with respect to the fiscal year. If they relate to June 30th or prior, they're charged there. Although they might not be paid, they're set up as accounts payable. Okay, so the cutoff is proper. And then, because it's a sizable district, we spend a little bit of extra time looking at your compliance with the public school contracts law. Okay, and we have found that to be, and otherwise known as the bid law. So we found that to be in complete compliance. And it's because of the fact that you have the proper human infrastructure set up within the office that their people are able to flag a problem down before it occurs, or make sure that the documentation for the contracts law is proper in place before you authorize the purchase. Because once you authorize the purchase and the goods are delivered, it's a little late. So we didn't have any of those problems. So that was good. And we also do it in two ways. We do it based on your quote threshold and at the higher level based on the bid threshold. It helps when you have a person and people like a Jerry Tagg who knows the bid law cold. It helps when your accounting records are overseen and commandeered by a Laura Allen, who's a CPA with many years' experience. They make our life a lot easier because we rely that as good as they are, we know that they know what they're doing. So when we go in to do the audit, we get a comfort level. We still do our testing, but we have a good comfort level that they're knowledgeable, which is key in an audit in this day and age. We also look at revenues. Okay, obviously your tax levy, I mean, that's easy to audit. Your state aid is easy to audit, but we look at revenues as well in your enterprise funds, which is the food service fund, the Falcon Care, and then the Child Care Initiative. So we check those out, and that system has evolved over the last few years. We spent some time, extra time, with the person who's in charge of it, and she's quite competent, and the records were quite well maintained. She had all the answers. And we were comfortable that what was happening within her little software area there was working properly with respect to the revenues. Food service is another big area that you have. We have permission to look at your service vendors' records. They leave them at the at the board office for us. We look at their payroll. We look at their receipts. We also do a verification of all the meal claims. Okay, and the meal claims are used for our reimbursement that we put in for, that we get from the government for lunch and for breakfast where applicable. So yeah, we do look at that. But the most important thing we do is when we get the general ledger and there's underlying records, the expression, and it will last forever, is cash is king, okay? The records as presented are in agreement with the bank reconciliations as presented. That really gives us a good starting point for the audit, because we know what we're looking at is reconciled, okay? So we've had, and always have had here, good results with those bank reconciliations. A lot has to do with, again, the boards giving the business office and the administration the ability to build the proper, for lack of a better word, human infrastructure, personnel within that business office, okay? So that worked out very nice. So as a result, we had all good audit results. The system is set up here very, very well. And as a result of that, we end up with an unmodified audit opinion, which means otherwise known as in the old days a clean opinion or an unqualified opinion. Basically what it is that the records get presented to us by management, okay? Our responsibility is to audit them and to give to the board an opinion. So our opinion is that it's weird how they do it. It's an unmodified opinion, but the wording says they present fairly, okay? So the records are and they don't mean fair as in good, poor, excellent, fair. And fairly they mean it's a proper representation of the records. Our job is really to verify the numbers as presented by the board business office. And like I said, it helps. I want to give credit to people within the office that we work in, the support staff, and Laura Allen, and they made the whole process go a lot smoother. It helps when you have someone who was an auditor working inside your department, your business, because they know what we go through and they know what to give and how to react and how to help move things along and how to present it properly so that everything meets the proper audit test. So that is a big help. But that's a year-round process. It's an everyday process. I gave a speech to a group a couple weeks ago about how, like, everything you do could be subject to audit. So don't get complacent and think that, I'll miss the audit lottery. Well, we don't have that worry here, because everything is reviewed. Everything is heads up, at least by the time we get it. So, and that's important too, that the system here is set up so that if there is a boo-boo, it can be fixed or it can be caught before it becomes a problem. And like I said when I started, if things are being purchased without purchase orders, then that's a problem, but that is not a problem here. So in the end, there's two documents that we issue. And I think just for the record, we had an extensive exit conference with management prior to issuing the audit. And then about a week and a half ago, we had a rather long and involved meeting with the members of the Finance Committee who were there that night to discuss the audit at length and to troubleshoot any concerns or questions they had. So in the end, we issued two documents. The first document, the thicker of the two, primarily is all information that's given to us by the board. Okay, we take all the different computer runs, merge them into report format, okay, and basically they're your numbers. Our only job within this document is to give an opinion. And like I said, that opinion is that the records present fairly. Okay, now, I know Michael and Dr. Kozak, they spend time preparing certain parts of this audit, this CAFRA, I think, and it's critical as you're moving into an era where there's potential for financing. And believe it or not, someone will read this document, okay? Someone at Standard & Poor's or Moody's, or they will read and they will question. Believe me, they will. And it's important that all this information be lined up properly. So we appreciate Mike's efforts in trying to get us the correct documentation. There's a lot of statistical information in here, some of which we author. Others were provided by, for example, the CFO of the town, the CFO of the county, and various other authoritative sources. All gets merged into the back section of this document. All the information in the middle, though, is all information that's available internally, which we just translate into report format. There's also information in here about, it's called the Notes to Financial Statement, which is information about how you're supposed to be operating your accounting, what proper accounting procedures you're supposed to follow. This is more boilerplate, and it's probably every Board of Ed in the country that's done under GASB like we are. It's all that information is in here. It just talks about the procedures that you follow in terms of how you present things, which fund is which, what's a special revenue fund, what's a debt service fund, a capital projects fund, enterprise fund. So all that information is contained in this document. So the other document is actually my representation to the board about the operation of the business office. And prior to going through this with you, I explained how we got involved in the departments and doing our various testing. Now, if we didn't have good results, okay, this document would contain comments that would indicate that there was a procedural problem or some other problem. We don't have that, okay? So in this document, it really is information that the Department of Ed requires that we put in there, but every now and then, if there is a problem, we're required to disclose. We don't have that problem here, and as a result, there are no audit recommendations that require a plan of action by the board. If there were, and we get in the summertime, mid-August through the end of September, if there were a problem, it would be in here. However, knowing the operation here, it would have already been implemented. We tell clients, if we find something, don't wait till we go to the board to talk about it. Fix it right away, because it's a fair question from a board member is, well, are we going to fix this? And sometimes the EAs, not this one or the prior one, they wait till it becomes a problem. You can't do that. You got to address it immediately and fix it. Again, we didn't have that, okay? But like I said, if we did, we would make sure that it was in process before we came here this evening. So there's two documents, and I know there's a piece that Mike Gorski prepares that is sort of like almost a highlight film or just information about the district that is over and above what we do, but it's required to be here. It's an opportunity for the district actually to toot its horn about operations and or even test scores. I have other places where they discuss, they discuss a lot about the test scores of their kids and the progress of their kids. Well, that's why we're here, obviously. So that's important to be in here. So if there's any specific questions, yes. There, and there's actually, I don't know why they do it, the Lords of the Profession, they have two sections where they discuss it. I don't know why, but yes. Michelle, that starts at page 1, okay? And then, again, it's rather extensive, and it's okay that it be that way. Again, someone in the next 6 months most likely will be reviewing this document for real in terms of your creditworthiness, which I don't think is going to be a problem, but that information is in there. So the only thing in the bigger of the two documents that belongs to us is pages 10, 11, and 12, and that's the independent auditor's report. We have the honor of having our secretaries type it, but it's really all your district's information. And like I said, we render an opinion, and that's what we're hired to do, is give an opinion in accordance with the statute and the professional standards. So I want to thank the support staff, most especially. They want to do a good job. They're interested in feedback. And that's good. That's good for the district too. So, okay. Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Stankiewicz. Now, it was a particularly difficult year. We went through 3 bookkeepers during the year. We had 2 different payroll service providers. We had 2 payroll supervisors, and for 3 months we had no payroll supervisor, and all the supervision of payroll had to be performed by Laura Allen and myself. But we had, great success, as Jerry said, and it's a proud moment. Falcon Care has now $1.1 million of retained earnings in 2 years. That's a proprietary fund that we designed. We created the business plan, and it's the envy of many school districts now. In January, it's anticipated that the board is going to commit $600,000 of that retained earnings to offset trailer costs and reduce taxes, and we're very proud of that. Surplus is in line with the previous year. That's very difficult to maintain. We go to war every year with Horizon, Blue Cross Blue Shield with the budget to keep premiums down, and this year is no different. Not only were we audited by Samuel Klein & Company, which was required by statute, but this year we were also audited by IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, SEMI, grant reporting, and the Child Nutrition Program, and all the results are the same. And that evidence that was provided from all the auditors is that the financial statements and financial disclosures that come out of the business office are relevant and reliable, and that is especially important as we embark on a referendum for a new school. We've proven to the taxpayers that we use your funds very preciously and efficiently, And for full transparency, I would encourage the public to visit the website tomorrow once these documents are hopefully accepted by the board, where you could breeze through the comprehensive annual financial report and the auditor's management opinion report. And there is a plethora of good information about the district in this comprehensive annual financial report. Everything from the unemployment rate in Monroe Township, to ratables, to per pupil spending, to enrollment growth over the last decade. You can find a great deal of information in here beyond numbers. And I would especially like to thank Laura Allen. Laura is the best accountant that I've ever worked with in my career. I'm very fortunate that the board encouraged her to join our staff, and she's a great asset to this district in many different departments, many different ways. And I'd like to thank Dr. Kozak and the Board of Education for all your support. And we look forward to the next steps now, which is the March referendum, and asking the taxpayers to again ante up for new schools that we've provided enough evidence that are desperately needed. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mayo, I believe you have a resolution read?
Yes. I move that the members of the Monroe Township Board of Education accept and approve the comprehensive annual financial report and the auditor's management report on administrative findings, financial, compliance, performance, and hereby approve and authorize the submission of the required corrective action plan to the county office indicating that there are no recommendations for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017.
Is there a second? Second by Mr. Ryback. Is there any comments or questions for Mr. Gorski, Mr. Stankiewicz? Ms.
I just
Arminio?
have a quick question, really unrelated to the entire books here, and thank you for your efficiency. But I just have a question about bid threshold. Maybe you could just enlighten me. Our current bid threshold is 36,000. Is that correct?
Madam?
And
Yes.
yeah, you may be.
Yes.
With the qualified purchasing agent certification, which I have, it's $40,000 for a bid threshold. That means if I wanted to buy any one item, $40,000 or more, except for those that are exempt, I would have to go out to public bid, and that's to serve the interests of the taxpayers, to make sure we're buying everything efficiently and no favoritism in vendors.
Okay, and that's for purchasing. How does that also include contracts that
Yes.
we enter into?
All contracts except professional service contracts, where you have a professional who was issued a license by the state of New Jersey. Those are exempt from bidding.
Okay, go ahead.
And also, there's other items available that you don't have to bid that are available through the state contract method.
Right.
It's already bid and negotiated by the Department of Treasury. Also, there are these, they're springing up all over the state now, these purchasing co-ops
Right.
with a bunch of school districts. I think the most active one is the Ed Services Commission of New Jersey, I believe.
Yeah, Ed
So
Data.
it's very difficult, we talked about, it's very difficult to violate the bid law in this day and age. There's so much help out there, okay? And the other thing about the 40,000 threshold is it also ratchets up your quote threshold, okay?
Just explain that a little.
Okay, the difference is, well, bids are formal documents. They are released to the public, to the industry, and they are opened in a sealed environment where, it's secretive until it's opened, okay? And that is 40,000 if you have a QPA.
Which is, say what that means, QPA.
Qualified Purchasing Agent.
Thank you.
Okay, the state enacted it about 10 or 15 years ago to take the administrative burden off of the towns, because in all honesty, although a lot of people think, and I think it is, a lot, like 25,000 is a lot of money, but in some places it's not. And the administrative burden of writing specs for a $25,000 item, it might take somebody 3 days. It might not be worth it. So that after 40,000, you have to get bids.
Right.
They have to be authorized to go to bid. Then you have to set a date where you're going to receive the bids. And I believe the minimum date that you need to have it advertised out there for 10 days. Okay, other places choose more. For example, if you're going to build a school, you're not going to go 10 days. You're probably going to go 60 days or 90. So, That's what the bid is all about. And you're somewhat obligated to go to the lowest bidder, okay, unless you can prove otherwise that there may be a defect in their bid. So then if you don't go to bid, if you're below 40,000, the statute allows for 15% of the bid threshold, requiring you to get a minimum of 2 written quotes, okay? They're not as formal. They can be phoned in, they can be faxed in, they can be emailed in. It's just, it's not going through this cumbersome, secretive bidding process. Again, I'm not saying bids are done in secret, but, you know, bids are supposed to be sealed and opened in a public forum like this with people, other, you know, witnesses and people standing around. So the quotes are less formal, okay? But again, there's so much available through state contract and through these buying co-ops that it's impossible to violate the law, I think, in this day and age.
I wasn't suggesting any violation of
No.
the law, but my question is just to understand it.
Yep.
And once we're in these consortiums and these I think we're in with some tri-state areas, right? Even Pennsylvania, I think I read last month.
Madam, yeah, the biggest one we have is Ed Data, which is the purchase of anything that's considered a supply through all the different departments of the district. Everything from tissue paper to consumable workbooks in the classroom. Those are all ordered through a consortium called Ed Data through the county office. And I think at last check, since we've joined that consortium, we've saved over $2 million as opposed to buying them off a state contract.
Okay, and state contracts and those kinds of things, does that mean we can buy things over 40,000 without?
Yes.
So we can. So there
Yes.
are things that can be purchased over
Yes,
$40,000.
yes. But you have to be careful sometimes, because, and I've heard, sometimes the state contract price is not always the best price. There's,
Right.
and you have to be careful too when you buy computers. Because, like, I don't know a lot about computers, but you just gotta be careful. Sometimes a lot of people don't know what they're buying. Fortunately, you have good tech people here in this district, so, that's just an example. But, you know, you have to shop around and, you know, I think, Mike, they negotiate directly with the manufacturer, correct? I don't know that there's even anybody between, like, for example, for supplies. I'm not 100% sure, but.
Well, you know, throughout the county, all the school districts that participate in education data, you're buying in such bulk that it saves money even beyond what the state's purchasing power is. And that's what the state contract is. That's where the state has gone out and prepared bid specs at their expense and gone through the process and allows everybody else to participate on it.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for the comprehensive report. You can see how, for everyone out there, you can see how big this is. I think this is my 8th, and I have finally gotten probably 6 pages into the first one so far. That I got about 8 years ago. So it's very detailed, but it's very dry, you know, and it's hard to comprehend. But I have tried. But I'll take your word for it. And I also want to thank Mr. Gorski and his team, Laura Allen and everyone, for continuing to do a great job with regards to this and maintaining the integrity not only of your office but of our district. So thank you.
Thank you.
I think the only one, if everybody remembers Mr. Leary, this was his favorite day because he loved reading that
It
document.
was Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh, yes. And Christmas and New Year's all rolled into one.
He'd come in and every page he'd have it marked with notes.
Yes, he read
But
it.
he'd
read the
keep you
whole
on your
thing.
toes, that's for sure.
Yes. Any other questions? I would like to also commend Mr. Gorski and Laura Allen in the business office because they did an excellent job this year with no recommendations, considering the some of the problems they had to go through, and they continue to do a great job in representing Monroe Township. So thank you.
Thank you.
If there's no further comments or questions, we'll have a roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mr. Chiarella.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stankiewicz, for
Okay.
being with us again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good holiday. Any questions,
Okay.
please channel them through Michael, and we'll be happy to answer them. But he is a former auditor, and pretty good accountant, and he can handle most of it, so,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll go to a student board members report.
On November 14th, Monroe Township High School had its coffee house, which had a very high turnout. FBLA has the largest group of students in Monroe Township history to advance to the state conference. And Model UN is having their conference in Pennsylvania January 5th through January 7th.
Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we'll go to committee reports. Are there any committees that need to report this evening? Ms. DeMayo?
I have two.
Okay.
We just had the presentation of the 2016-2017 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Mr. Gerard Stankiewicz, partner with Samuel Klein and Company, presented the results of the 2016-2017 audit to the Finance Committee. His comprehensive presentation covered all key areas of the CAFRA, auditor's management report, and a discussion on internal controls. Mr. Stankiewicz represented there was no audit recommendations, no audit comments, and the auditor's opinion letter expressed an unmodified or clear opinion on the financial statements. Committee members asked questions, many to the scope of the engagement, whereby Mr. Stankiewicz expressed that the financial statements contained in the CAFRA are the financial representation and responsibility of management, who he defined as mainly Mr. Gorski. His job as an auditor is to test the transaction to form a basis of an independent auditor opinion, whether the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards and are free from material statements. Mr. Stankiewicz stated that after spending 400 to 450 hours of testing, that in fact the financial statements presented are presented fairly and earned his clean or unmodified opinion with no audit recommendations. Mr. Stankiewicz commended Mr. Gorski, Ms. Allen, and the business office. I would like to thank Mr. Gorski, Ms. Allen, and the entire business office for all their hard work. It is because of their work that we are so fiscally sound, have an excellent bond rating, and great credit. Such excellent records and financial documents translate into money that directly and positively impact our students. So thank you again.
And that came from the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee, I apologize. And I have the curriculum. Oh, here it is. We had a curriculum meeting today, and we went through two curriculum documents. Community-based fitness for 18 to 21-year-old class. This is a curriculum document for special needs students to prepare them to live on their own. Ooh, sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. And take charge of their own physical fitness. They are introduced to activities such as disc golf and and other physical activities. It also teaches them how to get a membership in a fitness club and how to conduct themselves in these type of facilities. It also introduces them to pickleball and yoga. The other one is the prevention and care of athletic injuries. This class is taught by the trainers, kids, and is mainly interested towards kids who are going into medicine. They learn a lot about human anatomy. They focus on individual body parts like arms and legs and typical injuries associated with these body parts, how to evaluate the injury, tape it. And 5 students have been working with the athletic trainers to further their education. We also have a sharing resource, the school-wide fundamental pilot. This is for elementary school teachers, and it is a resource for the request to intervention. It's a pilot. It's an online resource, and it's to help teachers for reading and writing with their students. It helps them with books and lessons plans. And that's that one. And the last one is the online finance course. About a year, was it this summer? 2 summers ago, we had a pilot where we allowed students to take the online finance course online. Now we're in phase 2, and what we're doing is we are condensing this class, and it's going to be, we're going to have all the students meet in the media center. There's going to be 3 teachers there, and the students are going to be watching modules, which are essentially lesson plans, and then they're going to go into breakout sessions. And this teaches students to work at their own pace, and it teaches them independence in learning. And it's a great model, and I did not do it justice in my description, but it's a great model on how to enact an online learning module for students, and it allows them to teach themselves, but with a lot of support from teachers. Do you want to add anything? Because I know I did not do that justice.
The personal finance and economics is a graduation requirement for all high school students. A few years ago, we started a pilot where we offered this as an online course to students to get them used to the online platform, since a lot of businesses, a lot of colleges are offering this now. So we want to make sure that our students have that opportunity. But even though they're doing an online course, they're doing it in a room with the teacher. So there is a lot of support there, a lot of guidance, a lot of help if they need it, or a lot of enrichment if they need that. So it's been very successful. This year we have continued with it and opened it up to our students. With next year's incoming freshmen, we're offering this to, we'd like all freshmen to take the personal finance online course in this type of setting. So it would actually be 3 teachers with 3 classes of students in here in the media center. And the teachers could support their learning through the online format, and they're right there face-to-face if needed. This would give every student a chance to take an online course in their high school experience, because every student has to take the personal finance and the economics course. Students are not required to take personal finance in their freshman year, so if they choose not to take it in their freshman year because maybe they need a little more maturity, a little more readiness and tech skills to take it, they could take it in sophomore, junior, or even senior year, but it is a requirement for high school graduation.
Thank you. You did a much better job than I did.
Would you like to give an update on the homework policy?
I was going to wait till
Oh,
but I can do that.
Yeah.
I have it. We also discussed the homework policy. So Dory outlined how we're going to evaluate the homework policy and create a new one. She's starting off by forming a committee of teachers and administrators, and in January and for the next following months, they're going to brainstorm about how they want this policy to be written. They're also going to take a survey of parents and students. Like I said, this will take about 2 to 3 months, and any changes and what they decide will be presented to the curriculum and policy meeting, and we're thinking that it will be ready for next September.
thank you. Is there any questions for Mr. Mayo? Okay, any other committee meetings? None.
I have one, but you got.
Well, I
Ms. Arminio?
Okay, unfortunately, I was out of town on business for the policy committee meeting. However, I was reviewing the policies that are on tonight for the first reading, and I would just suggest to the public, because we get a lot of questions about why can't we project farther into the future about our facilities, and how we acquire land and what our restraints are. So I would recommend to the public, if anybody has the agenda with them on page 14 of 18, there are several policies that would help explain, not entirely, but sort of help explain some of the policies that have to do with our ability to build facilities, our ability to acquire land, and I'll just mention a couple of them. Again, on page 14 of 18 on on tonight's agenda for the first reading, you have the long-range facility planning, that's $7,100. The educational adequacy of capital projects, that's $7,101. Site selection and acquisition, that is $7,102. And disposition of property, that is $7,300. I think if the public, especially those who are interested in how we have to go forward with our school building and things like that, that would help for the public to know and understand what some of the policies are and what some of the restraints are for the district. So I would thank you. And these policies are online. After tonight, after the first reading, they'll be available online. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That's very helpful to the public and to us. Anyone else? Mr. Chiarella?
Yes, thank you. We had a Buildings, Grounds, and Transportation Committee meeting on December 4th, and we had 4 items that we discussed, and our committee recommended that the board move forward with all 4 of those. The first one was the Princeton University Resource Recovery Program. So the administration was able to find a great opportunity for us to be able to get used furniture for offices and things like that from this program, where that we could use to furnish our offices, to furnish the school offices, in the future the new school offices hopefully, and trailers and things like that. So we asked them to go ahead and move forward with that. We also discussed the trailers for the middle school. So we looked at the 8 trailers plus the what do you call that?
The phys ed one.
But yeah, the phys ed.
The double trailer.
Such a hard word. Yeah, the double trailer, and with bathroom connectivity and things like that. Where what we're really looking at though is that there are 3-year and 5-year contracts, with the referendum still being a question, obviously, for March, and us not knowing how that will turn out. Hopefully it turns out positively, but we don't want to enter into an agreement, a long-term agreement, and then not need to have those trailers and then have to break that agreement or pay that out. So what we're going to do is try to push that down the road, at least until March, and then make a determination as to what we'll need after March. So in the meantime, we're going through with that. Now the administration has saved us probably about 20% on those trailer unit rentals by looking at or having us go through and purchase or rent used trailers. So that's a good thing. So those trailers are 100% in good shape, and they're not leaking, they're not drafty, they have heat and air conditioning and bathrooms and that whole thing, but they're used. So that'll help from a financial standpoint. Then number 3 was a Verizon claim settlement. So we had a truck driver drive through some wires and knocked out our Verizon service for a while. Verizon, the truck driver didn't want to pay. We entered into litigation. Turns out that the wires were low, so our administration has fought that battle with Verizon, with the driver, with various people, various entities, I should say. And Verizon has finally agreed to reimburse us for 75% of that cost. And then the rest of that, the other 25% will come hopefully from the truck driver, but we're still litigating that, going through negotiations for that. And then the final thing that we discussed was about the Church Road land. So we have 2 things that we're still looking at, besides the really exciting thing that we always like to talk about, turtle fornication out there. But the things that we still have to look at is pesticide use on the land, because that was a former farm, and also flood zone, or the flood zone maps. Both of those things are going to be required in order for us to be able to acquire that land. We won't be able to move forward and acquire that land. The board won't, unless we have those things done. So the committee also asked the full board to approve that so that we can move forward and then get those 2 tests done, get that finished, and then get the land. That's it. Thank you.
Very good. Questions for Mr. Chiarella? Ms. Arminio?
Has that land been conveyed to the township?
That I don't
I
know.
don't believe so.
Madam? I do not believe that has occurred yet. And one of the things that we talked about was that this is a strategic holding anticipated for the board, meaning we're probably not going to need to develop that property for at least a decade. But you know, land in this township is scarce. You know, as we represented before, about 75% is encumbered, meaning it's in farmland preservation, green acres, or wetlands.
Did you, I'm sorry, 75%? No.
75%.
Not really, but okay. The 75% of the township is encumbered by open,
75% of the
wetlands.
land
I'm
available
sorry.
to build a school is
sorry.
encumbered by either green acres,
okay.
open space, or wetlands.
Or what, yeah, we have a problem. with
So,
wetlands.
you know, to have that in your back pocket that you could look at 10 years from now is a good asset.
Okay, my other question on that, however, is because the township will be receiving that land first, and it would be, in my opinion, incumbent on the township to do their due diligence as well on the property, I'm wondering if maybe in the next meeting, the township could be, we can negotiate with the township and a shared services agreement that they would contribute to part of the cost of accepting that land under our due diligence. Because if they accept the land and we haven't done all of that work yet, or nor should we, I mean, they're going to be the first landholders, and then if they convey it, well, when they convey it to us, I think that they should do like their phase one, their due diligence, and perhaps under a shared services agreement, because we should, I don't think the board or the district, because it takes away again from instructional, whatever funds we expend, it takes away from instructional, even though it's coming out of the same big pot of taxpayers, it comes out of instructional funds for our children. So I would highly recommend or ask maybe at the next meeting if the committee could discuss a shared services agreement to pay for some of, or all, of course, or part of the cost of those.
Doesn't hurt to have that conversation.
No?
No.
No.
And yeah, thank you, I appreciate it. And I appreciate that the administration keeps on this, but again, and there was no mention here about the other land that we're, you know, by January 1st, we'll have less than 90 days for our referendum. Will we have land for that referendum by January 1st? Do we have that land yet?
The proposed site for the new Monroe Township Middle School is a certainty that it will come to the board. The township right now is in the process of negotiating the purchase of the land with the owner. And although I haven't been able to connect with Ellen Weinberg, Township Business Administrator, in about a week, it is our understanding that negotiations are still proceeding, and that we're confirmed that that land will be ours, period.
Okay, it has nothing to do with this administration. I have worked diligently and very, very hard, but I think for the purpose of moving forward in March and for, you know, for our community, our educational community, I would feel a whole lot better if we knew that the land was under contract. And I would ask, and maybe I'm not asking at the right meeting, but I would ask that get done really quickly.
It's a complex transaction, and from the township's representations, they're acting not only in the school's interest, but the taxpayers' interest as well, as trying to negotiate the best and most fair price for the property.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chiarella, for being on top of this. I know you're keeping this.
I don't think there's any more committee meetings that need to report. So we will go to public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak to the agenda, please come to the microphone and give your name and address for the record, and we will adhere to our 4-minute time limit.
Prakash Parab from 33 Dana Drive. Chairperson, Chairwoman, there was discussion on curriculum. There is a discussion on here today about the homework policy. Homework policy coming in September. I'm impatient about it. because there are reasons for that. I looked today at our ranking of our district. The niche ranking for our district has dropped from 60 to 65. Our school ranking is 140. Compared to Robbinsville, we are not doing well. So the curriculum, the homework policy, everything is so important. So our request, I represent the community, so I get all these questions from my friends. So our request is, BOE Board of Education has all the data. We are not the experts. When the niche looks at the categories, there are different categories they look at and they rank the district, they rank the schools. So you have the data. So our request is, please conduct complete analysis and see where there are deficiencies and come back and to the public tell us where are the deficiencies, where are you putting your resources to improve on it, where the deficiencies are there, so we can understand so that our ranking of the school goes up, okay? So that is the request. Can you do it? So that is my question.
Can we do that? I think every member of this Board of Education would like to do that. And we're always asking we've asked Dr. Kozak and Dr. Alvik to look into these things to find out where we are. And we know a lot of times they change the criteria and then we're not quite sure what they're testing us. But definitely moving forward, we will do that. As part of the homework policy, as Mr. Mayo said, it's very hard to do something in a month or two because there's a lot of work that goes in. There's a lot of buy-in we need from different people. We want to make sure that when we do a policy, we do it right. And we never usually start in the middle of a school year. So by the time we finish a policy, it's for the next school year because that makes it fair to everybody so that everybody starts on a clean slate. So both of them we will be working on. We will have the homework policy by next September. And we are always considering where we stand in the rankings.
Yeah, so we'll appreciate in at least 2 months, you all can give us the, something about how we can look at the ranking. We will appreciate and we'll support you all, okay?
Thank you. I know Dr. Kozak would like to add to that too.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. Prakash, I wanted to say Dr. Prakab. The question of I think it's the niche rankings has come up before, and I looked at it again today just in case the question came up tonight. And just to be aware, they still are using 2015-16 data, school academic data. If you go through their site, there's little question marks that you can click on and it tells you where they're getting their data from. Now, that being said, it would be my pleasure to certainly report in January on how we're doing. But I would like to just, it's kind of what I hear about our economy in the country. We're doing a lot better than when people might believe by what we hear in the media. I will have something in a little bit during my superintendent report where I will state that based on the data from the last 3 years, we've improved dramatically. But how are we comparing to other schools? That's always good for us to look at. We have taken teams of administrators out to other school districts who are ranked higher than us to see why they're ranked higher, what are they doing that we can learn from. We can always, always improve. And I think it's incumbent upon us to always be looking at that to see how we can improve. So absolutely, we'll have that for January.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Good evening, Betty Sabarito, 2 Barrymore Drive. One of my sons is in Miss Papandrea and Miss Pandolfi's class, and I want to commend them on the fabulous job they are doing in honoring our veterans, so thank you very much. This is a pure example of how to educate the whole child, academically, socially, and civically. Our teachers are currently working without a contract. Members of the Board of Ed, I urge you to look at these amazing individuals, such as Miss Papandrea and Miss Pandolfi, that you have educating our children in Monroe and settle on their contract. I have met some of the most amazing teachers in this district, and it is thanks to these professionals that our children are progressing. I have 2 children at Mill Lake, one with a diagnosis of autism, and I am certain that without the teachers they have been lucky enough to have, they would not have progressed as they have. Please give our teachers the credit they deserve in terms of salary, benefits, and recognition. They deserve to be compensated in a fair manner. Teachers such as Jennifer Biddick, Paula de Blasio, Lisa Papandrea, Danielle Pandolfi, Jean Barsa, Sue Hewitt-Kaluki, Jim Bowe, Annette Hardaby, Stacy Libros, and all the other teachers are the best that there are out there. I know for certain my children would not be where they are without them. Let's show these teachers how valuable they are to this district so that we don't lose them to other districts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah Aziz. I live on 3 Launcelot Drive in Monroe. My son is a first grader, also in Miss Papandrea and Miss Pandolfi's class. I moved back to Monroe last year from Connecticut, and since I moved to Monroe, I've been paying almost double the property taxes. However, in this year, my children have made more progress in their year in Monroe than they had years in Connecticut, and I strongly feel that my property taxes are well spent on our teachers and our schools, and that Monroe has so much to offer children of all levels of ability. I also have a child with a disability. I'm here to support the teachers union, and I believe they deserve a fair contract and one that is competitive and consistent with other teachers in Middlesex County. And if they don't get a fair contract, the best teachers are going to leave. They're going to have no reason to stay here, and our children will lose. I feel that our town's budget is a reflection of our values, and our teachers and our schools is something that we should really value.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Drust. My address is 200 Schoolhouse Road. I am here speaking tonight in a dual role, both as a resident of the community and an educator at the high school. I have been a teacher in Monroe for the last 16 years. I fell in love with the community and decided to move to the town a few years ago. Tonight I want to share some information with the board and the community so that a clearer picture of our lives as teachers can be seen. I first would like to share a story about one of my colleagues. This individual has been teaching science in our district for years. They are extremely qualified and have a passion for the profession that I have never seen. At this point in time, this individual is not even making $50,000 a year in salary after 8 years of dedicated service. Another one of my colleagues is paying over $1,000 per month for health benefits. Over the last several years, their take-home pay has declined every year. Is this how our town chooses to reward its amazing professionals? It is very difficult to plan for a future when every year your pay actually decreases due to healthcare costs. Over the last 3 years, my personal take-home pay has decreased about over $6,000. I work additional jobs. As a matter of fact, I was at one this evening before I came here, to make up for this loss, to basically maintain a home. Other surrounding districts have offered relief to their staff in healthcare costs, and I'm asking you to do the same. Look at Monroe Township. There, the staff maxes out at an 18.5 contribution towards benefits, while here, our members can pay upwards of 30%. In Wall Township, they reached a similar agreement. In Neptune, the teachers have a maximum fixed dollar amount where the staff maxes out. How can these 3 districts do what our board seems unwilling to do? I want to read to you a portion of an email that a student has sent to me at the beginning of this school year. Dear Ms. Struss, I wanted you to know that I'll never forget the time I spent in AP Bio, 3rd block of my senior year at MTHS. And especially will never forget all the kindness, patience, and endurance you showed with me both after my absences and even when I was just being a regular old pain in the butt. I could have never succeeded on the AP exam or over the course of the second half of senior year without you, and I'm forever touched by your experience in your class. You have shown me what it means to be both a great educator and a great person, and I'm beyond grateful for that. I owe you so much, Ms. Drust, and I just wanted to say thank you so very much. In closing, when I first read this email, it brought tears to my eyes. It represents everything that I got into education for. However, my colleagues and I need a livable wage. Remember, you get what you pay for, and our educators in this community deserve more. Thank you.
I'm sure the applause is not for me, though. Good evening. My name is Andy Pelori. I'm from 16 St. James Street. I just want to echo the sentiments of the folks who've spoken before me. Both my kids who go to the Monroe Township High School initially came back home and said, what do you want to become when you grow up? Both of them used to say that they want to become a teacher. So I guess the influence of the teacher is so strong, even compared to the parents, that I think they make a significant impact on their life. So I fully understand the financial situation with the Board of Education and how difficult it is to get into an agreement quickly, but I personally feel that it's taken way too long for the contract negotiations, and I think there needs to be a closure on this as soon as possible in the best interest of the students, best interest of the Board of Education, and the best interest, most importantly, the best interest of the teachers. And one of the concerns that I have is the number of teachers who come in and leave. It's a relationship that the teachers build with the students. So if there's a constant turnover, that relationship never really gels, and the teachers and the students don't have that bond and connection for a better education. So I plead the Board of Education. I'm sure you're working hard. I have no doubt in my mind, but let's come to the closure on this as quickly as possible. The second point I want to bring up is something that I heard from a bunch of students who are the high school seniors. And this is to Dr. Kozak. Apparently the parking is a first come, first served basis at the high school for the kids to come in. But apparently a lot of kids do feel that they own the parking spot. And if somebody else comes and parks the car, some undesirable things tend to happen either to the car or to the individual. And it seems to be mostly between the male and female version have a conflict. And apparently there are quite a few incidences that took place. And I was just asking the young lady before coming here, and she said that, yeah, they do happen from time to time at the Monroe Township High School parking lot. So all I ask is that put out a memo saying that it's a first come, first served basis and respect the other drivers who are coming in the car to have their own parking spot.
Ms. Pelori, well, just clarification, because what you're bringing up is, I'm just hearing about this. When you're saying there's a conflict between male and female students, adults, I'm not sure.
Students. I heard of at least 3 incidences in the last month or so where a young lady went and parked the car, and somebody, one of the students who had a car who was parking in the same spot, and bullied is probably a strong word, and we don't like the B word, but got into an altercation, a verbal altercation.
All right, thank you.
I think it's just to bring it up to the people's attention, especially with the cold weather coming upon us. People tend to want to park closer to the school, to the classes. So
okay, and I thank you for bringing that to my attention. I would encourage you and anyone else that when situations like that occur, for the most immediate action, please, if you contact the school, and the same for the students or the parents, to contact the school immediately. But I will follow up with this. To ensure that this is monitored.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And I assume that same answer for the first point that I try to making the teacher's contract done soon too. Thank you.
I can't speak.
I just want to clarify that this public forum is for the things on the agenda, and parking was not on the agenda. At least I didn't see it. So.
Sorry.
That's okay. So if you have any questions pertaining to the agenda, otherwise we have another public forum coming up.
I think this does. My name is Ira Nelson. I live at 87 Crescent Way. I recall a little while back there were discussions about how to get more dollars out of Trenton for state ed. I recall also reading, I think it was Dr. Kozak in one of the local newspapers, indicating that we received all of $458,000 To be honest with you, I didn't know whether I should laugh or cry with that amount.
That's
When
the
a
way we
budget-
felt.
When a budget goes up approximately, if I understand it correctly, well,
That's for you.
I don't know if that was for me. $3.5 million a year. We have a bond issue that's coming up. Obviously, there are an awful lot of expenses, and you hear the plight of the teachers in the district. I guess my question is, what efforts are really being made to acquire more dollars from the state for the situation that we're facing here? I know that there was some discussion, as I said, a while back. Some meetings were held in Trenton. There's a new administration that's coming in January. But can somebody give us an update, a status report as to where we stand?
I'm going to let Mr. Chiarella handle that. He is the chairperson of the Ad Hoc Committee for Fair Funding, and I know that he's been meeting with his group on a regular basis.
So we met, thank you, by the way, for coming up and bringing this up, but we met, I was going to bring this up at the other board business section, but by then everybody's usually gone, and I'm just talking to myself and them, you know, which is like talking to me. They don't listen to me. But anyway, we met about 2 weeks ago, again, our group, and we were discussing our next steps and what we need to do in order to re-engage with our elected officials in Trenton. And just, I wanted to also take the pulse of our committee just to see where their heads were at, and then get everybody, you know, get us all past the partisanship that is natural during an election. Our committee is made up of Democrats and Republicans and independents. You know, it's pretty much across the board. It's a mix. It's nonpartisan and bipartisan, I should say. And the reason for that is because we all need to work together, because I think this issue goes beyond political boundaries. This is a Monroe issue. You know, this is an issue that we all share. This is a problem that this is all of our burden. And I think it's a fight that we all have to take together. So anyway, with that being said, what we're looking to do is just to re-engage with those politicians. So our governor-elect promised on the campaign trail that one of the first things that he would do was to fully fund the current funding formula. That would be step one. Our legislators, our Senator Greenstein and both of our assemblymen promised us that they would support that. They would support the fully funding of that, which would mean millions of dollars more for us. But on the other side of that they also said that they would support going back to the drawing board and submitting legislation or joining legislation that would change the funding formula and rid us of the things that are penalizing us for being the kind of district that we are. So our job, I think, and I'm motioning because some of the members of our committee are here, our job is to re-engage with them, hold them to those promises, and help ensure that they do what they promised to do for us.
It sounds well and good. I hate to sound very skeptical, but in terms of anything immediate, anything short range, anything even mid-range, with all of the issues that we're facing here in this district, which are a lot revolve around finances and money and taxpayers paying the bills for all kinds of things, it really doesn't seem like much is going to change. I hope I'm wrong for everybody's sake, but this can take a very long time for anything really to be resolved in any kind of satisfactory way.
Thank you for your comments. Both Jill, Steve, and we ran on the position that we want to continue that fight. And as part of the steering committee, we have already reached out towards legislators. We know that the new governor has his transition teams. We have already asked to be part of those transition teams so that we can get the message to those people right away about the plight of Monroe and what we need and how important it is for them to hear us. So we pledge to continue this fight, and we will continue to do so until we're hoping that at least the funding formula is fully funded this year so that we have that money coming into our budget this for next school year at least. So at this time,
Thank you.
if there's anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
Good evening, Ram Rangnath, 6 Owens Drive, Monroe. Again, I know we had some discussions on the referendum and the school expansion needs. I guess this is a question, right? I guess we are working for the March referendum, concerning that we still don't have that land. Hopefully, next time we come, we have that, or an email before that. This is a question, why are we, I think some of us have asked this before, with the referendum, there's a concern that not including the expansion of the high school at least probably weakens the case for the referendum. And secondly, is it doing enough for the township, right, given the lack of capacity? And we heard about our rankings dropping, right, from the high school. I know there's some analysis done, and we'll hear more in January. But it's important that we address issues from the high school, because ultimately that's what counts from rankings and so on and so forth. So this is the question, I guess, have we really looked at adding the high school as well to the referendum? What is the delta? And other issues around this is in terms of the capacity. I think the members of the community are not clear what exactly is the under capacity issue. We heard it's 1,500. We are already at under capacity by 1,500. And in the next 5 years, I think it's going to be another 1,500. Are those the right numbers? When is the high school going to reach its capacity limit? Can someone share projection and information around that? And then importantly, again, why can't we add the high school as well to the referendum? Because I think that improves the chance of success of the referendum. And then importantly, it addresses a big concern that people have, that we need to address the high school situation as well.
Okay, I'll let Mr. Gorski answer those.
Thanks. The Board of Education and the Student Growth Advisory Committee have been studying this problem for over 2 years. And one of the most challenging aspects of our needs, which we want to be clear, include not only a middle school, but also an elementary school, and we inherited a need for an addition to this high school as well. All 3 of those projects are in need. But the most challenging part of accomplishing them was the identification of land to build the middle school on. It is extremely difficult, as we've found, to find 20 to 30 acres of buildable land that's flat, it's not wetlands, it's in the location of growth, it's got the right roads and infrastructure and utility zones. It makes that a very rare piece of land indeed. And when we identified such a property, that is the reason why the middle school project became paramount for address. Because had we not addressed that one first and that piece of land was lost,
right,
it could
Mr.
hamper.
Gorski, sorry not to interrupt, but I really appreciate that, right? So assuming we get that golf course, we can put up the middle school there. But with the high school, we have the land. It was already part of the original plan to extend it, right? So why not do both, the middle school as well as the high school?
There's a lot of considerations other than just bundling all 3. Number one, the school district went through an extensive elementary school redistricting project a couple years ago. And that project basically balanced the load from the sections of town that are seeing decreasing enrollment to those increasing. The southern area of town's elementary schools are managing just fine now. There's available space. As we work with our demographer, they handle the load for at least the next 5-6 years out. So one of the problems there has been temporarily solved. Likewise, the one at the high school has also been very well managed by the high school administration, by scheduling, and by making the most utilization of current space. Another consideration, and there are many, and I'll just share with you, what comes to mind, is the outfitting of all of these facilities when you open them online. There used to be a budget cap waiver for opening a new school, because the cost of outfitting a school could be significant when you're talking staffing and supplying and getting everything geared up to receive kids in September. In my opinion, as the business administrator, it would be unaffordable to open up all 3 of those facilities additions at once within the current budget structure. We simply don't have enough room. It will be an immense challenge for this district and this administration to open a middle school and outfit it with staffing and all the operational costs, not capital costs, because that can be bonded, but the operational costs that are required in the school budget that's already capped, and we are already at cap. So we are doing this on a very intelligent installment design, which also is in the taxpayer's interest, not to prepay for any facilities that you don't need immediately. So this is a very well, carefully thought out plan. The most stress and the most need is at the middle school, and then the board and the committees will work again together to see, once that's successful this March, which one needs to be tackled, if not both, next.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is this an agenda question?
How would I know if it's an agenda question if it?
Because you don't have a copy of the agenda?
No, I don't.
Okay.
All right, Krishna Dekale, 11 Jake Place. I have a question on what Mr. Gorski just said. Considering that the new school is coming up, and if we are already at cap, we would have issues hiring new teachers for the new school, right? So as an extension to that question, how many classes do we have without teachers? How many subs are taking those classes? Or are there any plans to hire new teachers? Even if we were to bring in trailers, we would have the same issue, right? We would still have to have new teachers for those trailer classrooms. Do we have that?
Well, I could start with that, because if you're going to have a new school and you're going to have to put people in the new school, we're going to have people in trailers for the next 2-3 years at least. Those teachers and the equipment in those trailers will be given to the new school. So we probably won't need the teachers as much as you would need the support staff, being your nurse and your principal and your guidance counselors and your gym teachers and things like that, your support staff. But the teachers should be in place. Now, we hire teachers on a regular basis due to need and enrollment and growth. So that we're doing ongoing. But I'll let Dr. Kozak add to that.
Okay. Thank you, Madam President. The hiring teachers goes with the student enrollment that, as the student enrollment increases. So as Mrs. Kalapanovich has said, for this year that we're in now, the school year, we hired 30 new staff members. For next year's budget, we're working on that budget now, and as needed, we hire staff to accommodate the growing students. So regardless of the building space, we want to make sure that our class sizes are manageable and are provide an appropriate learning environment, meaning that there are smaller class sizes. So we have been hiring teachers and will continue to hire teachers as needed as the student enrollment increases.
So a continuation of that question is that, I can understand a few vacancies, but are there, I've heard from my friends and my neighbors that there are some classes that are exclusively being run by subs. So is that something that?
I can speak to that. Yeah. The only classes that are being run by substitute teachers are classes where students are out on a leave, perhaps a medical leave.
Teachers are out on a leave.
Yeah.
You said students.
Oh, did I say students? I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you,
listening,
Mr.
Mr.
Thank you. I'm glad you're listening. Where teachers are out on a medical leave. My apologies. The last personnel meeting that I believe I do the new staff enrollment, I believe all of our positions were filled except for leave positions. Now, with that, even on the agenda tonight, you'll see that we have retirements, resignations. So as they come up, we work as quickly as we can to fill those positions. There are some positions where if we can't fill them quick enough, some of our teachers we'll pay them. You'll see it on the agenda as 117%. We'll pay them an extra amount to teach an extra class to make sure that it's being covered. But we want a teacher in for every class. There have been some other positions that we have had trouble filling, such as a LDTC for our child study team, a learning disabled teacher. Those positions are hard to fill throughout the state. So we've worked around that, but that's not directly a teacher in a classroom. But as much as possible, we have a teacher in the class, and we only use substitute teachers on an as-needed basis to deal with teachers who are out on leave.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, again, I'm going to ask if there's agenda questions, we'll do that now. If there is not an agenda question, we have a public forum later on on the agenda.
Sure. Raghu Chitturi, 23 Green Eye Street. I have two questions. One regarding the high school, the building option. What criteria did we use to make a decision to go with a new middle school? Is it the number of students per class, or is it the teacher-to-student ratio, or the total student limit per school? We are not clear. I've been attending this multiple times, but I've never got an answer for that. The reason for asking that is I want to compare that metrics with the high school now. So where do we stand? When do we reach that threshold? And when do we really need that high school additional classes? That's one question. And second one is regarding the teacher retention. I've seen couple of teachers are working more than 100% capacity, and some are hired for middle of the year, half, 3 months, 6 months, like that, right? If the teachers are not consistent for the students, I personally feel that the students may not have that continuous progress from the same teacher. It will impact their grades, right? The bottom line, again, it boils down to the teacher's contracts, I guess. We would like to see, support the teacher's contract and help from the board to make sure we conclude these contracts. It's been for a while, right? These are impacting our students. And another thing that I want to ask about the teacher's part is, how will it impact the advanced AP courses? Are there enough teachers there? Because for the regular classes itself, if the teachers are not available, and if teachers are working at overcapacity or being hired for a very short stint, how does it impact, or how many AP courses are being offered here, and how are the teachers there? How consistent the teachers are there for those classes? If board can share those stats for the AP courses, it would help us understand, where we lack on the teacher negotiations or the contracts.
Hey, Dr. Kozak, do you want to start, and then you can answer
Sure.
the questions?
Okay. So regarding substitute teachers, if a teacher's out for one day, there is a pool of substitute teachers, and every substitute teacher has to be qualified. We interview every substitute teacher. They have to go through training. We also include writing samples to make sure that they can write effectively, they can communicate effectively. And if they're teaching math at a lower level or at a higher level as well, we require that they demonstrate that knowledge. If they're teaching a longer, let's say a maternity leave and someone's out for 2 or 3 months, we want that same high quality teaching to occur. So when we hire a person to cover a longer period of time, we follow all that criteria to make sure they are the most qualified substitute teachers that are available. We also allow for transition time when possible. If a teacher doesn't go out suddenly, we allow for transition time for the substitute teacher to work with the teacher who's going to go out on leave to make sure that he or she understands the material, where they're at, and that the curriculum is being followed properly. And we also have supervisors and administrators that monitor that as well. Regarding the AP classes, we currently, this is a report that Dr. Alvick provided for the public in, I believe it was October. I think it was October. And as far as advanced placement courses, right now, I'm not aware of any AP teachers who are out on leave. Not off the top of my head, I can't think of it. But just, we have 354 students taking AP courses. We have 26 subjects that we offer advanced placement courses in. I think if you compare that to other high schools, I think you would be very happy, because I won't say we're the highest number of AP courses being, or we offer the highest number of AP courses, but I think we're up there with some of the schools that offer the highest. So we offer a lot of courses. We offered a lot of advanced placement courses for a variety of subjects. And based on last year, the most recent data that we have, we had a 4 and a 5 are really it's a 5-point rubric that's used to pass an AP exam, and 4 and 5 are generally accepted as N3. But the level at that, that the colleges will accept that at. So out of the 354 students, 122 received a 3, 155 received a 4, and 129 received a 5, which would give me a quick 300, probably a little right around 400 students, which is over the number of students taking that, but you have to consider that some students take more than one AP test. Okay, so generally our students do well on the AP test.
Cool.
And Mr. Gorski.
Yes, thanks. With regard to your questions about capacities at the schools, the middle school was identified as having not only the highest pupil-teacher ratios, which are demonstrated on page 137 of the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Like I said, there's a lot of good information in here. But the middle school is also anticipated to have trailers coming next year, which is further evidence of the need to hit that first. And it's 10 portable classroom units. And to purchase these and lease them, it has a shocking $1.5 million effect on next year's budget for 10 portable classroom trailer units. And that includes staffing and the lease payments.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
Sorry. My question is about the criteria. What criteria was used to make a decision that we need to have a new trailers for the school, middle school? Is it the number of students?
Trailers is based upon number of students, pupil-teacher ratios, classrooms available is the main one, and as I was going to get to, bottlenecks in the school. We cannot properly educate children in the middle school with physical education. There's just no more room in the gym. You can't have any more classes throughout the scheduling. So there was a requirement to have a cardio lab leased through the trailers. So every criteria available was studied. Every criteria that was relevant was studied. And it was determined that the middle school was the most in need of address. And some of the evidence that was studied is in the demographic report, enrollment projections, in other words, that the board adopted. And just to share with you a couple numbers from here, I spoke with Mrs. Shanley, the principal of the school, and recently she told me there's 1,665 students in the Monroe Township Middle School. 5 years from now, it's going to exceed 1,900. That's a few hundred beyond the capacity of the school. And with the bottlenecks that I mentioned, you really cannot accommodate much more without addressing the problem with a new school. And trailers are not the answer. They are the most inefficient way to educate students. We're budgeting over $7,500 a pupil just for these trailers for next year. And it's just a waste. And a lot of the infrastructure that goes into there with wiring and Wi-Fi and all that stuff goes in a heap when you throw it out. Except like Mrs. Kolopanovich said, a lot of it will transfer over with the students that go to, hopefully, the new middle school. And that will split that load equally, and it will be between 900 and 1,000 students in the two schools over time.
So what criteria for the high school now? Like, where do we stand in terms of these criteria?
The high school per pupil teacher ratios are much lower than the middle school, although they're higher than the elementary schools. And they're being managed very well. There's still some flexibility in scheduling, and there's still some flexibility with some of the infrastructure here, the gyms and the cafeterias that we're servicing students without an immediate need. The immediate need exists at the middle school. It does not exist here. Had we had our druthers, sure, we could do all three. there's justification for that, but none more severe than at the middle school, and that's why we're doing that one
I
first.
totally understand about the middle school. My concern is about how long does it take, like, to reach the threshold for the high school.
If the middle school is successful in March, I anticipate, and this is just my opinion, that administration and this board will begin to work diligently to address the needs at the elementary and the high school level, and probably will be packaging out another referendum for one or both of those within a year's time, certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sal Sapola. I live at 10 Gloria Lane. I'm here as a taxpayer, and also I'm here for the teachers. With all due respect, I want to start off by saying how disgraceful it is that our teachers are without a contract. Since Christie took office, teachers and all public employees have seen their pay go down every single year. But I'm sure you guys know that. They pay for health care. They got their steps frozen for 2 years. They even got added steps, tons of steps, from 12-year contracts to somewhere in excess of a 20-year contract in the middle of their career. And not to mention, if they live in Monroe, they're getting it on both ends, okay? My taxes and my wife's taxes went up 70% in 6 years, from $10,000 to $17,000. So you live in the town, you're paying all these taxes, and you're not getting your raises at school. Every year your pay is going down and down and down. These teachers dedicate their lives to these students. It doesn't end in the classroom. I personally see it with my wife and her colleagues. My wife has gone to football games and other teachers for their students on weekends, taking time out of their own life with their own family. I've seen teachers have lunch with their students to reward them. And not to mention, half the teachers that I know personally have won Teacher of the Year. My wife, along with many other teachers, have in excess of 26 students in first grade. It is unfair both for teachers and students. They do more and more, the teachers, and get less and less. They have done their part. Now it's your turn to make it right. Thank you.
Good evening, Tracy Balsamo, 5 Layla Court. I am not only here as a taxpayer and a mother of 3 that are in our district, but I am also here as a Monroe Township employee as a substitute teacher. Unfortunately, I do not substitute anymore in the district, being for other reasons that I just feel, and I know this is a state thing, but as some of the people were speaking before, was that our substitutes cannot sub for more than 4 days a week. When you do have a teacher out for a long term, and we are put in, it's not fair to our students that the consistency is not there, that we only have our subs there for 4 days a week, and then a new person comes in to take over the class. So I just wanted to address that. This has been a big problem, that not only as a parent do I see that, my son has had many difficulties being in a math class when a teacher has gone out because he's only there, the sub is there for 4 days, and a new sub comes in on the 5th day. The consistency is not good for our students. My main reason why I am here is for our teachers. Not only do our teachers deserve to have a contract, our staff in Monroe is unbelievable. I am not standing here saying this just to say it. It is coming from my heart. You should be very, very, extremely proud of the people that are here, that couldn't be here, but that represent Monroe Township. They are they represent what we are, what our students are, what our children are. Every day that my child wakes up, they want to go to school. Why? Because they have teachers like Mrs. Silverman, like Mrs. Huey Colucci, Mrs. Boretsky, Mrs. Walters, Mrs. Roth, Mrs. Scher, Denise Jimenez, who is our secretary at Mill Lake, Mrs. Mignoli. I'm looking right at him, and I can't even say his name right now because I'm just so emotionally. Mr. Ventrilo, Mr. Lehman. I mean, there are so many people that Mrs. Sapola, I mean, I can go on, Mrs. Worth, Mrs. Papandrea, Mrs. Pandolfi. I can just keep going on, but these teachers do this for, not only for the money, it's not even there. They do it out of their heart, out of the love that they have for our children. I mean, when I see teachers, my son is in the middle school, he's in 8th grade. I still see his 1st grade teacher, and she always says to me, "How is Nicholas doing?" And you know how that makes me feel? These are not people that just come to a 9 to 3 job and leave. They are with us 24 hours a day, many, many years out of their lives, and I don't want to lose any of them. So please, think about it. Think about your own children's teachers. What an important part of these people make in these children's lives. Because let me tell you something, my 5th grade teacher gave me such an idea of being a teacher and gave me this love of wanting to be a teacher. So please think about it, even in your own personal experience. What teachers done for you growing up. And I really think about it. Put a contract out there for them. Give them what they deserve. They deserve to have a contract. They really do. And if you want to continue staying with Monroe, honestly, wake up and be proud of these people, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public forum and go to the superintendent's report. Dr. Kozak.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. So this is I'm going to give my report, and I'm also going to read a letter to the board that, regretfully, this letter serves as my notice in the Monroe Township Board of Education to resign from my position as superintendent of schools effective June 30th, 2018. Due to contractual obligations, I have to provide the Board of Education dutiful notice of my plans to resign. It has been and continues to be an honor to serve the students, the families, the teachers, the staff, the administrators, the Board of Education, and the community members of Monroe Township. The past 2.5 years have been extremely gratifying as I witnessed students engaged in their learning, teachers delivering quality educational programming, administrators providing educational leadership, and parents and community members supporting students and our schools. I am proud of the accomplishments that have occurred during the past 2.5 years as a result of the collaborative efforts of the leadership team. We have improved student learning through, and I did say we have improved student learning through a data-informed approach to instruction through the use of measures of academic performance, known as MAP, and other formative styles of assessments. PARCC scores have increased in almost every grade, all but 2, and those 2, there was a slight decrease over a 3-year period. But in every other grade over the last 3 years, with some gains as much as 41%. Increased internship opportunities for students have been provided. We provided an opportunity for high school students to learn entrepreneurship and business plan skills from a volunteer who is an esteemed graduate professor of education from the College of William & Mary. We've enhanced communication to the community through our Facebook and Twitter pages, the Falcon Flyer, Focus on Education show, which is on cable TV, and our district app. We've enhanced communication and collaboration throughout the district through the introduction and application of Google Apps. We've increased the science, technology, engineering, arts, and math instruction, sometimes known as STEM or STEAM, including computer coding with robots and expanding our focus on creating innovators with the habits of mind to be successful in college and a career. We've increased our focus on the delivery of our services to our special needs students, as outlined in our study that was done by a consultant. We provided tax relief by allocating surplus funds to residents. We finally, through the work of many, many people, helped achieve additional state funding after 8 years of approximately $500,000. And sure, that's certainly not enough, and the fight needs to continue. But it was a coordinated effort with the ad hoc committee, Mr. Chiarello, and other board members, and certainly with superintendents from other districts throughout Central and South Jersey. And we've engaged the community in our Student Growth Advisory Committee in identifying solutions to our growing student enrollment, resulting in a referendum for March 13th, 2018. My work in the district is not done, however, as I intend to continue to collaborate with the leadership team, including Mr. Gorski and Dr. Albick, to ensure that we continually improve the delivery of instruction, that we drive innovation, and ensure that our students are educated in a safe and secure learning environment. Most importantly, we need to continue to inform the residents of Monroe Township about our referendum vote on March 13th, 2018. We have a lot of work to do to ensure the community is informed about the need for a new middle school before they cast their vote on March 13th. There are presentations, these are all listed on the website, of when on this referendum. For instance, December 20th at the Renaissance on Route 33, Dr. Albick will be presenting to the community members. January 11th, 2018, 3 o'clock p.m. in our Monroe Township Library. January 18th, from 7 to 9 p.m. at Barclay Brooks School in the auditorium. January 25th in Woodland School. February 1st in Oak Tree School. February 7th in Monroe Township Community Center. And February 15th in our middle school. I encourage people to come out to these meetings, these town hall type meetings. We're going to sponsor other meetings as needed. We're encouraging neighbors to get involved in our Neighbor to Neighbor project to help inform their neighbors or our community on this referendum. You've heard many, many people speak tonight, not only for our teachers, and I certainly applaud our teachers, but also for the need for, a new school or schools. So this is very important that the community is informed about that. Just going to mention a couple other things before I go into the personnel section. I attended the band concert at the middle school last night. The band teachers did an excellent job. The kids did an excellent job under the direction of our talented music teachers. And they performed in an excellent manner to a packed house of parents, relatives, and community members. And before the concert, just what every parent wants when they're waiting to go and see the concert, I'm sitting there with the referendum materials, but they were very receptive, and I provided a lot of copies of our plain talk to our parents to inform them of what's coming up with the referendum. Moving on to the personnel items, I want to mention two items in there. Item J is I would like to commend Miss Barbara Grossa, who is a custodian at our high school, for her 14 years of service to the students, staff, and community of Monroe Township, and I wish her much happiness in her retirement. And item K, I would also like to commend Miss Deborah Scott, who is a paraprofessional at our middle school, for her 21 years of service to the students, staff, and the community of Monroe Township. And I wish her much happiness in her retirement. So with that, I respectfully it's up to you. It's up to you how you want to do it. However you want to do that. Okay. Sure.
Okay, in light of Dr. Kozak's personnel matter, I make a motion that the Monroe Township Board of Education accept the resignation of Dr. Michael G. Kozak from his employment by the board as the superintendent of schools, effective June 30th, 2018 at 11:59 p.m. The business administrator board secretary is hereby authorized and directed to take all necessary steps to implement this action by the Board of Education. I need a second. Okay. Any discussion? Mr. Ryback?
Well, I just would like to say that it's been a very special 3 years, as of, in June, and working with you has certainly been a pleasure. Your words, especially your desire to continue the work as forcefully as you have been, shows the kind of professional you are, Dr. Kozak. I just want to thank you and certainly wish you the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Mrs. Lang?
Dr. Kozak, I just want to thank you for what you've done here in Monroe, especially in your involvement in the fair funding fight and the dedication that you put into that. And I wish you the best of luck in all your new endeavors that you will go forward to. Thank you.
Mr. Chiarella?
Yeah, I have a few things. I'd like to thank you for your service also, Dr. Kozak, but I'd also like to say that I'm going to vote no, and I'm not voting to accept this. I think that you're tendering your resignation based upon the factors that are going on behind the scenes. I don't think this is what you really want. I don't care about votes, and I don't care about the politics of it. But what I do care about is this district. What I do care about is making sure that we have a referendum that passes, and fighting for a referendum with a superintendent who's going to leave. So we have 3 months until the referendum, and then 3 months after that, our superintendent leaves. It still leaves a lot of our plans unfinished. So we're still looking at the need for another high school, or the high school addition. We're looking at the need for an elementary school. And not to mention that we're looking to make sure that we're not a rudderless ship during the interim, during that entire period when we still have to do our main task, which is to educate our children properly. And I have children in this district, in the school system, and so I have a vested interest in making sure that we're doing the right things as far as making sure that we're focused on educating kids and not on anything else. So with that, I'm going to say that I'm going to vote no. I implore the rest of the board to vote no too. If we have to offer a shorter duration contract of a year to get us past the referendum and through the implementation of the next one, then I would be open to that. But I'm not open to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
I just want to thank you for your work on behalf of the students here and the enthusiasm you have brought to the job here, and I wish you the best.
Madam?
Yes.
On behalf of the leadership team, Dr. Kozak has a poster in his office that said, "The road to success is always under construction." Dr. Kozak, you fixed quite a few potholes during the last period of time here, and it's a pleasure working with you. Thank you.
Oops. And Dr. Kozak, if nothing else, and I know there's been a lot, your fight for funding, I think you've heard the word referendum 100 times a day since you've been here. I'm sure that we would all like not to hear that word again. You brought the IEC club to us, which had a very rocky start, but it had an awesome ending. The STEAM initiative, so many things, but I think your love of education, your love of Monroe, and especially the love of students is what we're all going to take with that. You brought that every day. Your attitude and your smile and how you treat kids has been phenomenal. So I too wish you the best of luck in wherever your future might take you.
Thank you.
So if there is no other comments?
I will comment when I vote.
No, the comments should be made before we vote.
Okay. Dr. Kozak, I respect your position. However, I regret hearing this, and I'm disappointed for our district. I believe that you have fought in the best interest of the students, and you bring a great deal of academic integrity to the district. That wasn't here in the past. I also believe that you have supported the good employees of this town and of this district, and I believe that you have supported the teachers to encourage them to do their very best. And I think you have given a lot of time over and above the time that is in the classroom and during classroom days. So you'll hear my vote in a minute. I would hope that it is possible that you might reconsider in the new year. And I know you have an affection for this community, and I believe you've brought things to this district that had not been there before, and they were positive things. So I hope you reconsider in the next few months.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll take a roll call. And this is to accept the resignation of Dr. Kozak.
Mrs. Arminio.
Dr. Kozak, I accept your, whatever you need, but I do not accept your resignation, so no.
Mr. Chiarella.
No.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback. Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll,
Get through the rest of the personnel.
yes, not easy, but we'll do that.
Before I do, just a quick thank you for everyone's comments. I do appreciate that.
Because then we don't have a meeting. Mr. Chiarella? Mr. Chiarella, if you leave, we don't have a quorum and we have to. We don't have a quorum of 5?
No, we need 6. Madam, you're absolutely correct. In order for the board to conduct business, we need a quorum, which is a minimum of 6 members. So therefore, if Mr. Chiarella cannot be encouraged to come back, we would have to discontinue business this evening. May I recommend perhaps, beg your pardon?
5-minute recess.
I would
Okay,
recommend take a
yes.
recess and try to get Mr.
We'll take a
Chiarella.
10-minute recess. I need a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Ryback, a 10-minute recess, all in
No.
favor?
Aye, but you
Okay,
don't have a
because-
quorum for the vote.
At this time, I think we're back into public session. I would like to thank Mr. Rutsky for running over here, because I know you had an event tonight. So without you, we would have had to go home early. And I just want to say that it's probably been here, I've been here many years. I've never had to deal with this before. So as board members, we always have many votes that we like and many votes that we don't like, but our responsibility is to the Board of Education, and to just pick up and leave the board in a predicament where we can't carry on is regretfully wrong, inappropriate. So I just want to say that. So I think we're back to Dr. Kozak and his personnel report.
With that, Madam President, I would ask the board, I would recommend items A through AL for approval.
Mr. Ryback, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Arminio. Is there any comments or questions for Dr. Kozak? Okay, seeing none, we'll have a roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback. Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, personnel items A through AL has passed unanimously.
Thank you.
The board action, respectfully ask the board to, I recommend to the board the passage of items A through O, please.
Mr. Ryback,
Second it?
Mrs. Lang, comments or questions again? Seeing none?
One second. It was?
It might be the revision, the revised agenda.
No. Okay, I'm good.
You're good?
Oh, okay.
Is everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll have roll call.
Thank you. Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes on everything, but no on graduation requirements, section C.
So noted. Mrs. Lang.
Same as Jill.
Yes on everything except the graduation requirement policy, letter C.
And Mr. Ryback?
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky?
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Majority of the members have passed the resolution and board action items A through O.
Okay.
That concludes my report.
Okay, we will go to the business administrator's report with Mr. Gorski.
Madam Board President and members of the Monroe Township Board of Education, it is recommended that board action items A through F be approved by consent roll call.
So moved.
Mr. Ryback? Second. Second by Mrs. Lang. Are there any comments or questions for Mr. Gorski? No. Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Arminio.
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo.
Yes.
Mrs. Lang.
Yes.
Mr. Ryback.
Yes.
Mr. Rutsky.
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz.
Yes.
Madam Board President, board action items A through F has passed. I appreciate all the board members who are here to vote, especially Mr. Rutsky, to come back because there was a lot of important business to resolve here with the personnel reports and the business administrator's report contracts. There would have been a lot of impairments if this couldn't have gone through, so thank you very much. Appreciate it. That concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll go to the board president's report. Since this has been a long meeting, I'm just going to wish everybody a very safe and enjoyable holiday season and a very happy and healthy, prosperous new year. And when this is all over, we'll see everybody in January. At this time, we'll go to other Board of Education business, if anybody from Mr. Mayo.
I do. On November 27th, Kathy, Patty, and myself went to see the Makerspace at Barclay Brooks School. First, I'd like to thank Nicole Madeira and Aaron Mahoney for inviting us in and showing us how the kids work in this environment. For anybody who doesn't know, a makerspace provides hands-on creative ways for students to design, experiment, build, and invent as they engage in science and engineering learning. The environment is very hands-on, and the students work with many different tools in groups and alone. The room contains elements of a science lab, computer lab, art room, and is designed to accommodate many activities happening simultaneously. While we were there, we saw a second grade class creating in many different ways. Some were using 3D pens to create objects, some were using MarbleWorks to complete a building project, and other students were using photo editing software. During the second half of the class, the students began working in groups. They built a Lego robot and then used a computer program and created a code that told the robot which way to move. The students had to actively discuss their ideas with each other and come to a consensus on which way they wanted the robot to move. It was really an amazing way for the kids to learn. And I think I can speak for Kathy and Patty also that we thoroughly enjoyed being in that classroom.
I wished I was in second grade again. And I wanted to buy all those creative things. They were awesome. I wanted to buy them for my grandson, but unfortunately he's only 2 months old and not able to play for them for a while, so I figured I'll just wait a year or so until he gets that. Mr. Ryback?
I just would like to follow up that I also had the pleasure of observing Makerspace, and I was really so impressed with the way the students really work together, because, you know, it's not just academic they're learning, there's social skills, and all of those things come together to really produce the kind of students and citizens that I think we're trying to help produce in the schools here. It's just wonderful to see what they were doing. I actually saw a 3D printer for the first time, and that was quite exciting because I never saw one before. And then how they use the product from it, it's exciting. It's what education is all about, or at least the way it should be. So thank you.
Mrs. Lang?
I wanted to share that our Monica Hines, who is our supervisor of special ed, is working diligently with the parents, the special education parents, to get the special education parent advisory group going. And the meeting that we had hoped we were going to have this month has been canceled, and instead we'll be meeting January 8th here in the high school media center at 6:30. And SPAN is going to be providing a training on how to develop and implement a special education parent group. And we really hope that not just parents of our special needs students attend, but as many teachers and as many members in the community who would like to come. Please join us on that date. I also wanted to share that on November 18th, I attended the Delegate Assembly meeting for the New Jersey School Boards Association, and it was a very interesting meeting. What they do at Delegate Assembly is they come up with resolutions that then they go and talk to our legislators to get them passed and to be considered into law. And two of the big ones that were really important that they passed at this meeting were that a resolution stating that once a district was given funding by the state, that the state can't reduce the amount of funding, because a lot of school districts last year got hit really hard and had to lost a lot of money all in one shot. So that was one of the resolutions. And the second resolution was that the School Boards Association believes that the special education providers, the out-of-district providers, they can raise their costs to school districts, the price that they charge, as much as they want every year. So NJSBA is put out forth the resolution saying that these out-of-district providers should only be allowed to raise comparable to the 2% cap that school districts do, which I think personally is a much fairer way of doing things. So those were two really great things that came out of that meeting. And then finally, I just wanted to also mention that we got to come, Kathy, Steve, and I came to watch Graham Kozak be inducted into the high school, the Army High School, oh my goodness, Dr. Kozak. Marching band, and it was such a wonderful experience, and to see Graham's excitement for the music and everything. And I think in January we should all be watching Facebook Live to watch Graham march in San Antonio at the All-American All-Star High School football game.
It is January 6th. I don't know what the time the game is. It's an afternoon game. He will be marching at halftime, which will not be shown on TV, but it will be on Facebook. So, and I think we have already talked about honoring him when he comes back.
At our January, I think it's the 24th meeting.
And hopefully we'll have video of him marching in the band. So that will be good for all of us to see.
What instrument does he play while he marches?
I believe he's low brass, baritone horn maybe.
Cool.
Yeah, because he plays bass guitar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think he plays a couple different instruments, but Mr. Ryback didn't think to ask, did you?
Well, yeah, actually, I had a whole conversation with Graham about saxophone. Because we have a common interest there, and he's had quite an experience with saxophone.
Yeah, I thought he said he played a few different instruments.
He did.
But it was very nice. Okay, anyone else? Okay, then we would go to public forum. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come to the microphone, give your name and address for the record, and we will adhere to our 4-minute time limit.
Okay. My name is Faraz Khan, and my address is 5 Tall Oaks Drive. Thank you for allowing me to speak here today. My name is Faraz Khan, and I'm a student here at Monroe Township High School. I'm very grateful for the work this board has done, and thankful to be able to go to school with the facilities and educational services that exist at this very high school. But my peers and I have seen a sharp decline in the quality of the extracurriculars offered. Over the year, this very board has taken actions which directly hinder students' abilities to engage in creativity and innovation. For example, I recently incorporated a club in efforts of teaching and inspiring students to embrace entrepreneurship. We would do this by launching mini ventures in which the members of this club would plan, design, and sell products online through a dropshipping model. But in order to do this, our club would need the initial funds to be able to start such a venture. And every idea we sent to the board, administration, from bake sales to events, would end up getting denied? Who will support our club in these financial struggles? Due to these restrictions, my club has made little to no progress in its mission, encouraging students to explore entrepreneurship. Not only that, but the new regulations being enforced effectively hinders the promotion of diversity in our school. For instance, a club I partake in, named Multicultural Club, tried to organize a Thanksgiving event in the high school, allowing students of different backgrounds to bring in food from their respective cultures and serve it to other students. All the proceeds grossed from this event would have eventually been donated to charitable organizations, allowing students. Furthermore, we plan to allow students to bring canned foods instead of purchasing a ticket for entry, which will be donated to food shelters, potentially giving a Thanksgiving dinner to a struggling family. Though we were able to easily hold this event in previous years, the policies this board established caused so much chaos that we were forced to cancel the event at the 11th hour. You have not only blocked us from engaging in creativity, but also from cherishing our student body. You may say that fundraisers such as selling snacks are against state law, but according to my research, this is incorrect. The New Jersey nutrition policy states that snacks and beverages can be sold before and after school hours as long as they contain no more than 8 grams of total fat per serving and no more than 2 grams of total saturated fats. So beverages and items such as coffee and bagels are completely acceptable under these policies. I hope that you're able to address these issues by loosening your stance against student fundraisers and events, as these regulations become more and more problematic as the year goes on. Thank you.
Can you just give me the name of your club again?
I run 2 clubs. One is Multicultural Club, and another club is Monroe Corp.
Monroe Corp?
Monroe Corporation, yes.
Okay. We'll have, we'll look into it? Yes. We'll look into it and get back to you.
All right, thank you.
Anthony Prezioso, 8 Equestrian Way. We're going to be very unfortunate to lose you, Dr. Kozak. I know through experience you're a class act. Your doors are always open. Test scores went up. I don't know what the board is worried about, that they're not going to find anybody better than you. And to me, one of the major things that you did was you prevented nepotism and cronyism. And I know that through experience. I can guarantee you when you're gone, that's coming back, like the old days. I guarantee you it's coming back because I could prove it to you. I guarantee you that Dory Alvidge will be superintendent. And if I'm wrong, I'll come up here and apologize. I know what's happening here, okay? Wait, I could say it, I'm public. This is my opinion. I have a feeling you were pushed out. I know you were pushed out, and it's unfortunate. The board's not going to get anybody better than you. So I'm sorry to see you leave, and I guarantee you this is a cronyism move. And if I'm wrong, I'll apologize, but I'm not. Thank you.
Prakash Parab, 33 Dana Drive. I was just outside and came to know that Dr. Kozak is resigning. And I was shocked. Even the 5 people who were standing there outside were shocked. I have been observing, I have been coming to the Board of Education for last 1 year. And I have been here in our Monroe for last 16 years. I have seen the turnover. We need a dynamic person like Dr. Kozak who has a vision, who wants to introduce technology, bring our school. Our ranking shakes up here and there a little bit, so what? You know, we need a leadership. If something is forcing you to go, we want to know the facts as a public. We want to know why you are resigning, why the board is forcing out, and we want to know which board members are voting you out, because it has to be transparent. It cannot be, oh, we cannot disclose it. That cannot be accepted, because we are the public, we are the taxpayers, we want to know. And if the board members are not renewing the contract, this is a critical stage, referendum. We need vibrant school. upcoming school. So if this is a politics, I know how to play the politics. So I want to know, we want to know the facts out. We want him to continue. We support him. And if the board is not renewing his contract, we want to know why, who are the board members who are saying nay. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Then we will close this public forum and go to the closed session resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Township of Monroe hereby moves to go into closed session in accordance with the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, NJSA 10:4-6 through 10:4-21, to discuss the following subjects. Discussion regarding pending litigation with student ID number 83636, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Following closed session, action may be taken. The discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public at such time as the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Is there a motion and a second? Mr. Ryback? Second. Mr. Mayo, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then at this time, the board will go into closed session. Okay, at this time, we are back into public session, and I have a resolution. What am I supposed to say?
I hereby move.
Okay. I knew this. Just should have written it down. I hereby move, whereas NJAC 6A:3-1.13, parentheses D, parentheses, requires that a Board of Education provide a resolution authorizing settlement indicating that the District Board of Education has consented to the terms of the settlement. Be it resolved that the Board hereby consents to settlement with Family and Student Identification Number 83636 pursuant to the terms of the release and settlement agreement attached hereto, and authorizes the Board of Education President, Ms. Kathy Kolopanowicz, to execute the agreement on behalf of the Board. Second by Mr.
You moved it, so we just need a second.
Right, second by Mr. Ryback.
Okay.
Comments, questions? All in favor? Roll call, I guess, right?
Yes. Mrs. Arminio?
Yes.
Mrs. DeMayo?
Yes.
Mrs. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Ryback? Mr. Rutsky?
Yes.
And Mrs. Koloponowicz?
Yes.
Madam Board President, motion passes.
Okay, and at this time, we don't have anybody to have a public forum for, so we will go to the next scheduled Board of Education meeting, which is the reorganization meeting scheduled for January 3rd, 2018, 7 o'clock p.m. at the Monroe Township High School. Motion to adjourn? Mr. Mayo, Mr. Ryback, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Then meeting is adjourned.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.